information. That was really big back in the day. Made all our websites, quite animated, and it was really cool stuff until Apple decided they weren't going to support Flash. And then you sort of got e-commerce, where we introduced encryption. So that's where we could pay. We can start paying for things now with our credit cards. E-commerce kind of sort of, it's either 1.5 or sort of into Web 2.0, and then obviously then your 2.0 is your social media, and also don't forget during this period the big sort of plus or the big increase in speeds, like our bandwidth increased a lot. So that's where we could get YouTube, starting to actually be worthwhile. We could actually be useful. And like Eugene said, we've started to get all our social media with the introduction of MySpace and Facebook and Twitter and all those other things. So that's the only things I would add to those things.
Okay, social media, great. All right, so Eugene, over to you.
All right, thank you very much. So I was trying to introduce Web3. Now, we're talking about Web 3.0. We're talking about a new evolution of the web, and this has to do, let me take it just as a read, write, and execute form. Don't worry, I will explain that in a bit. Now, this Web 3.0 is trying to see how we can actually, we as the users, we can be part of the system. So it's not just like we are just controlling just to put in your input, but rather we are being part of it, just like we are contributors to the development of the web. Now, let me calm down a bit to make a little comparisons and contrast between the Web 2 and Web 3. Now, we'll talk about Web 2.0. A lot of us are familiar with the fact that, for example, banking system today, when you have an account with the bank has got all your details, and the bank actually controls whatever you do. Your actions are restricted to what you can access at a particular time. At times when it comes to this limit of a thing that to make some transaction and you can't access some kind of resource. Now, this Web 2.0 has been in a form of a centralized web that an authority actually have to govern your use of the web. Now, take for example now Facebook as well. You can imagine that on Facebook there are certain things that you can do and certain things that you cannot do. There are some kind of things you can post and some kind of content that you cannot post, that you are not even allowed. For example, if you are a digital marketer, you want to make some kind of ads, to some age group even, or to some certain audience, there are kind of things that you can post or not. Now, some of these things, now there are some forms of restrictions that we get from Web 2. Now, so, but in Web 3 is a decentralized web version. That is, that those restrictions, Web3 try to take away those restrictions from what we have in Web 2 today. Now, you as a user, you actually control what you have or what your data that is inside there. Now, somebody will try to ask me that, okay, doesn't mean that we are actually developing this Web3 ourselves from where we are? Not really. The data is actually stored in some distributed servers, unlike a central database governed by a single authority. Now, in this case, it's actually distributed in different places. You as a user, even depending on network you are trying to connect with, you can also offer to be one of those persons who also store data. That is one of the data servers or centers. Now, coming up for it, we can say that Web3 being decentralized, it means that in Web3, we also, data privacy, it's open. That is to say that your privacy is more concerned. There's no restriction as such to what you can do with Web 2. I guess everyone is following with Web 3 rather. Now on this Web 3, for example, now when we talk about cryptocurrency in Web 3, you can decide to want to send up money or some coins to somebody anywhere. Now you make the transactions and the rest. No other authority is going to restrict you what and what you can do. Now even where the data are being stored, they don't have access to whatever is being there. You control your data. You can send up at any time to whomever you are being given. You're getting me now? So in Web3, being decentralized and permissionless, to say, it means that you as a user, you can actually do things without anybody restricting you from what you can do. And also, like we said, data is distributed across several servers, such that a single data can be a single unit of information or data from you can be stored in more than 10 or hundreds of computers all over the world, such that accessing it from somebody it's not easy because everything is locked up. Nobody has access to whatever you have because you only have the key to access them. Okay, so that's the bits. Okay.
So Eugene, when you talk about so a couple of things I want to respond to, but I'll just take them bit by bit first.
Okay.
Now you talk about you said a person can choose to post these data, to store these data, to be a data server. I mean, how does that happen? So I mean, if I want to be part of the network that posts that stores data in this, should I say, Web3 internet, how do I do that? How do I become part of it?
Okay. Now when we talk about that aspect, normally we know things is a connected system in the internet. You know that when you want to opt into this something like that, you should always be aware as well that you are going to be part of some persons who will have connectivity, internet connectivity 24/7, no interruption. You're getting it now. So actually, this has to do with some kind of tech companies or individuals who can also provide this reliable service. Now, if you want to be anyone of such, then you should be rest assured that you can provide power and high-speed internet connectivity at any point of time. So when you make all of this, this world of the internet and computer is just a matter of connection, 1, 2, 3 connections, and everything is done. So if you are part of a blockchain network, for example, or any of these decentralized apps, and a team or rather the company working on it, you can actually make up your connections and get it. But the bottom line of it is that when we talk about you being a host or a data server or center to this Web3 storage stuff, we're talking about if you want to be involved, you have to ensure that you have a speedy internet connection and you have reliable power. That means your systems cannot be shut down at all.
Okay, I think I understand what you have just said, but IQ for our pioneers audience, which is basically everyone here, I guess. Is there how do we bring this back to our Pi terminologies or something? Is he talking about a node, IQ?
He is talking about nodes. Yeah, I mean that's decentralization. The whole point of this, we're trying to eliminate single points of failure. It's always been an issue that infrastructure in the data centers are always trying to eliminate. There's lots of different ways that they can, through clustering and all this type of thing, that they try to eliminate these points of failure. But under these decentralized systems, when you operate nodes and decentralized infrastructure. Like an example is there's a company called Threefold, right? They're doing blockchain decentralized infrastructure. Everything's hosted on multiple servers, right? And essentially what you're getting here is, instead of sort of a bit more serialized searching of data and providing of data, now you're operating in parallel, right? So the data's split and shared across nodes, and this enables parallel processing of everything. Now, with regards to Pi, what Pi is actually doing is, when you've got operating your nodes, that's where they're providing consensus, right? So they're not actually providing any data storage or any infrastructure and that type of thing. They're providing the infrastructure to provide consensus across the nodes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's two different aspects there.
Okay, so let's get I see some requests. Let's go around the room now and get some contributions from the audience or some questions. Yeah, so if you want to say something on this, just send a request to speak so that I see Pi Network NFT. Let's accept Pi Network NFT. Pi Network NFT, you can now speak.